Hi, and welcome to this episode of Under the Skin podcast. Many women have heard of PMS, but they haven't heard of PMDD. Today's guest is going to share her experience and how she's raising awareness so that other women don't have to suffer in silence. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me and talking about this really important topic. Many people don't actually know what PMDD was, and I am a little bit embarrassed to say that I didn't either until recently. So before we get into it, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Katie Watson, and you can find me on Katie Watson PMDD on Instagram. And I'm a geography teacher and love all sports. And at the moment, I just love shouting about anything women's health and how to overcome this PMDD nightmare that we're all experiencing.
Yeah, because I actually found out about you through one of my children's mums, if you can follow that. They shared what you were doing on their stories, and then I reached out to you because I had heard about it before this, a few years ago. But I just remember thinking that would be brilliant. That's a brilliant topic that needs talked about and raised awareness of, because it's so important. In fact, the more I found out about it, the more I've actually been really shocked. Do you want to tell the listeners what does PMDD stand for?
So PMDD stands for Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder.
Right, and how is that different from PMS?
So PMS is premenstrual syndrome, and I'm going to go really teacher mode on you here.
Whoop,
So premenstrual, so pre being before,
Mm-hmm.
menstrual being your bleed, and then dysphoric is actually the opposite of euphoric. So euphoric being happy,
Right.
excitable,
Yeah.
bubbly, and these are actually words that most people would use to describe me when I'm not experiencing this episode. And then disorder is obviously completely out of the ordinary. So we have this before our bleed depression. And I would describe it as a flick of a switch. It is a complete chalk and cheese night and day of me being that bubbly, excitable, happy person to then this completely depressed, anxious version of myself.
Yeah, and you know what? I never had that. I didn't even have PMS, right?
Okay.
So this is the only reason I'm able to relate to what you've just said is because going through perimenopause,
Right.
the fluctuation of hormones, and I suppose we'll come to that as we go into it a bit more. I started to feel that dip.
Yeah.
And it is not nice.
It's
It is
not
really,
nice.
excuse my French, fucking scary.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've gone through my whole life not experiencing anything like that. And then, and the same as you, bubbly, energetic, go-getter, to just feeling like there's a big dark cloud. And no matter what I do or did at the time, because I'm past that now, thankfully, due to medication, hormones, it's scary.
Exactly.
It's a really dark place.
It's really dangerous
Yeah.
as well, which is why I'm so grateful to come on here and speak about it, because you obviously have this large platform and following that we can let people know that actually, yes, a lot of people do experience dips in their mood before their period. That is common, but it's actually not normal. And you shouldn't be experiencing these huge fluxes.
So this is the difference, isn't it? So your
Yeah.
premenstrual syndrome
Yes.
is when we get, the pain, the physical pain, the cramping, the just generally not feeling great.
Maybe a bit irritable and tearful, and that's
Yeah.
sort of okay.
And that's because there is a dip in estrogen levels.
That's correct, yeah.
Pretty much, right?
And then PMDD is like that on steroids, the Godzilla version. And it is, you can't function. I actually had to go part-time years ago because
How old are you?
I'm 31.
You're 31. You look like a baby. You're 31. And so shall we go back to when you first realized that it wasn't just bad PMS?
Right.
So we take everyone back to what age
Yeah.
were you whenever you...
So I was actually a late bloomer. I didn't get my period till I was about 17.
Really?
Yeah. It has its blessings and its curse. I was at an all-girls school, thank goodness, because when it hit hard on that day. I was like, oh, what's this?
Oh,
I
God.
But then with that, the moods sort of started changing. And, my family, I'm very, very lucky, a very supportive family. We just thought it was sort of just the classic teenage girl mood, sort of up and down. But then it became really severe. I was at university, and again we thought, oh, she's at university, homesick, general life
Stress.
stress, that sort of thing. But I wasn't letting on quite how bad things were, and a lot of my friends at university thought there's something seriously wrong with this girl. um,
Your friends wanting to give you a wide berth.
yeah, and I was having to isolate a lot because no one understood. And when I went to doctors, and I'm not bashing the medical world, by the way, at all. Um, it's not their fault, but they weren't informed and didn't link my
The
mood to
lack of
my
training.
cycles. Exactly, a complete lack of training, and that's why this isn't a woman's issue. This is a societal issue.
Systemic.
Correct. So we need that education. But years ago, I was actually on antipsychotics for bipolar. So I
So,
was
right, okay. So
misdiagnosed.
you were at
Mhm.
university when it really started hitting hard. People just thought it was your mental health, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
situational being at uni with by your family, your friends really not knowing what the heck was going on.
Right. Or myself.
Yeah, or you,
I
that
was
just must have been
confused.
awful.
Yeah.
And then you started going to, so you went to your doctor, GP
Yes,
first, and
GP.
then did you get referred for
Yeah,
like counseling or any like psychiatric services or
that's right. But I also, on a couple of occasions, was brought by friends or ex-boyfriends, bless them. Shout out to them for putting up with me. Honestly, I was a nightmare. Um, they brought me to emergency services on a couple of occasions because it got
wowie,
that bad.
what happened? What, like, give me an example if you don't mind.
No, not at all. In fact, this is actually something I haven't. I think it was since I started this page in June. I have,
Your Instagram
yeah,
page.
my
Yeah.
Instagram page. I've alluded to the struggles, and I have mentioned that it's been terrible and sort of made dark jokes about it and sort of, laughed about it, but it's actually not funny at all. I have found myself in positions where I thought the world would actually be a better place without me many times. And that was a monthly thing happening. And, I couldn't say to people, oh, this is what I'm feeling because they didn't quite understand what I was
You're
up
also
to.
probably afraid of people like running a mile and
I was mortified because during that episode, that premenstrual episode that I was having, I would not be myself. I'd be very down, very tearful. I'd be gurning like, constantly. It was exhausting. Have you ever cried your eyes out so much the next day as a write off? You're knackered.
oh, if you cry, like your eyes are sore
Yeah.
and they're puffy for like hours and hours, like
Do you
that
ever
whole
find,
day. Yeah, definitely. And you've a
yeah,
headache, you get a headache, and you're just
exactly.
it's this all over feeling of this just generally not feeling well.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awful.
So, I was mortified. And then instead of my friends who were supportive, obviously were like, it's okay, we understand. I thought I was becoming a bit of a broken record. I was like, I am such a melter.
Yeah,
Like
because
these
girls
people
are
hard.
young as well,
Yeah.
and they're just wanting to go and live their, and they don't want, you can't understand what you don't know about.
Exactly. So I then made the assumption that these people would not want me around because, well, my brain went there. I was like, I'm, crying all the time, being really negative. I'm a burden. So I then started retracting myself from certain sort of social occasions and isolating. And then because I eventually, when I got this PMDD diagnosis, which I needed to get privately, by the
So
way.
before we skip to that part,
Yeah,
you've gone through all this at university
sure.
and you've had counselling and you've had,
Mhm.
at what point were you diagnosed bipolar?
That was in about 2017.
Just like you're in your mid 20s.
Yeah,
So
I
right,
was 20.
you're roughly in your mid 20s. You've been diagnosed with bipolar from your
Sure.
GP or
Mhm.
psychiatric service.
Psychiatric
Right, okay. And
services,
how
yeah.
did that make you feel?
At first I was
Glad,
relieved,
yeah.
but then
You're just desperate for something, for a
yeah,
reason why you're feeling that way.
exactly. And my whole family who are doctors, we were a bit like, really? Is that actually what is
Because it
happening
just
here?
didn't really
It
feel.
didn't seem right because with
At
bipolar you
any
have that
point,
mania. And they were like, you're not manic, you're not trying to fly, you're not.
it's just your dips now and again.
It's the dips. And then I would come out of those dips feeling so glad not to be in the dip. I'd be like, right, I'm
So
moving to
that was maybe
Vietnam.
where they,
I'm climbing Everest. I'm doing this marathon. Who's coming?
so
And people are
grateful
like,
for like feeling happy and not
yeah.
feeling
They're
like
like, she's
that.
mad. She's
So
nuts.
that's what they thought what the mania was.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But I'm actually just like that anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exuberant.
yeah. And then the dip was just so extremely different. The contrast was
But at any point,
massive.
did anyone put this at the time of the month? You know, the time.
No, so then I actually don't know the point at which I realized, but I started tracking moods. Yes, my GP said, start tracking your mood, start tracking food, start tracking everything. So I
But no one
just,
asked you at any
no.
point.
I did notice that it was to do with periods, but I didn't hear about anything in the world actually relating to having a condition. I just thought, well, everyone gets a bit down. Like my flatmate gets a bit cranky during her, the week before a period. Like it's very
And you
normal.
just thought yours was just worse.
And I just thought, I'm being dramatic. I am being dramatic. And that actually brings me on to the point where people who have PMDD felt or do feel very alone because people don't know what it is. A lot of people don't know what it is. They then feel isolated because they can't talk about it, because they don't know anyone else with it. And since starting my Instagram page in June, it has been the biggest game changer and healer
Explosive.
for me
Yeah.
personally,
You
very
feel
selfishly,
validated.
because I feel validated and because I've connected with
Heard.
people online. It's been amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
It's kind of like you have depression, but it's
Mhm.
only at that time. So it's
Right.
not that you have mental health issues or
Mm-hmm.
situational issues that's causing you to feel depressed. It's hormonal.
Exactly.
And you have no control over that.
I have a good analogy for you, which I
Right, okay.
cannot take credit for. Vicky Pattison, Geordie Shore.
Yeah.
Remember her?
Yeah.
So big fan of her. So if she sees this, get in touch. We'll go for coffee. She quoted someone. I don't think she came up with this, but she said PMDD, which she has, by the way. Do you remember her on Geordie Shore? She's
Oh,
like Vicky EYI and going down, and she was.
I was a massive Geordie Shore fan.
So was I. It was such trash TV.
Oh no, I like the
loved it.
original one though.
Yeah,
Is
she
it
was the
there?
original, wasn't she?
Oh, you're talking about Newcastle though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm talking about
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Oh my god.
That was the OG.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting off track.
Sorry. So she has PMDD and she only found out the last few years, and she describes it as people building a sandcastle. So you make your sandcastle and you've got this beautiful sandcastle and you've got your which represents your yoga, your family, your friends, your supports, your therapy, and then inevitably a wave comes along and washes it away. And you have to start again from scratch
over
every
and
month.
over again.
And you know that wave is coming every month without fail because it's the ocean, or in this case, it's your period. So it's very much like that as well. There was a point I was going to make, but I've completely forgotten what it was a minute ago.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. What I was going to say is, again, because I didn't have PMDD, and it's so funny because actually there might be a link. At one point, so because I didn't have PMS, and I drove to work every day with my friend for a couple of years, my best friend, and I started getting like emotional on the drives on the way into work, or really worked up about little things, or feeling quite low, which wasn't like me. And one time she turned around and she said to me, "Are you due your period?" And I said, "Actually, I am." Why? She goes, "I've noticed this the last few months about you. You've got like this the last few months." And I went, "I've never been like that." Now, we've been best friends since we've been 12.
That's so nice.
She knows me and my periods more than myself.
You've probably synced up as well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with working together.
Yeah.
And she said, and I said, "But I've never been like that." And she goes, "No, but I have noticed it." And then I started to pay attention. And that is whenever I started researching and PMDD came up. So that's when it first happened with me. But since I've gone into perimenopause since, that was a few years ago, maybe about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Clearly the very early stages of perimenopause, because I didn't know anything about perimenopause then. It's something similar. So
really
it's
similar.
Perimenopause and the hormone fluctuations and the decline, that rapid decline, was affecting my mental health.
Yeah.
But it's the same as PMDD, as in it's a hormonal fluctuations, and it is affecting women's health. Only mine's at a different stage and for a different reason, but yours is ongoing. It does actually feel very similar, doesn't it?
It does. And I guess, you've touched on something which has reminded me what I was going to say before. For you, and maybe for me as well, talking therapy, I actually didn't find hugely helpful because I actually really love life and I didn't have anything in therapy to talk about.
Makes you feel like there's you're going to therapy because there's something wrong with you mentally or you're
Yeah.
cognitively that you
Or
need.
there's an event to discuss, but there
Yeah,
wasn't. I
exactly.
didn't need to talk about any trauma in childhood because I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to talk about anxieties because I actually didn't have any. It was just this chemical thing.
Imbalance. Yeah.
And having researched it recently myself, I didn't realize it's actually not to do with the high or low hormones. It's to do with how my brain receives it and the
It's how,
sensitivity.
how sensitive
Mm-hmm.
it is to the fluctuations. Is that maybe
Yeah, that's exactly
better way of
right.
putting it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right, we'll go back to you had been diagnosed with bipolar. Were you commenced the medication?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long were you, and is that all that just stayed at that?
Yes, so I actually only stayed on the medication for a couple of months. I had some negative side effects physically. Some of them I was on aripiprazole, it was called, if you're aware of it.
No.
And it gave me sort of like muscle cramps in my legs. It was all very strange. But I am very lucky. As I said, my family are doctors and they recognize this isn't right. And as I said, I think it's really dangerous that it was misdiagnosed. I'm not here to slag off that doctor either. They weren't to know. They did what they thought was
Yeah.
right at the time with the resources that they had. But that is why shouting about it now is so important and why we actually need to talk about, and I know that we have been saying this for a long time, but we actually need to action it. We need to start talking openly about periods from primary school, if not younger. I know there is probably a 45-minute conversation where you separate the boys and girls. That's it, done. We need to sit boys and girls down together.
Yeah,
and
I was
talk
just about to say
openly.
that. Why are we separating?
And
It's-
even saying the word period is a bad word in this country. What's that about? People
It's
happily
because we're Northern
swear.
Ireland and we are about 50 to 100 years behind pretty much every aspect.
Yeah, exactly. So it just has to start younger. The stigma needs to go because people are dying because they can't cope with
I
the
came
mental side.
across, did I send it to you? I can't remember. The statistics.
Yes, I think you did.
I was sitting in bed.
Yeah, the people
And I
saying
seen that, and I was reading the statistics out to the guys here
really?
earlier, and they were like really shocked.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I wish I could find them. I'd love to find them. Just bear with. Yeah. So 72% report lifetime suicidal thoughts. 72%. Like, that's massive.
That's not right.
72%. Okay, there's more. 49%. So half have made a suicide plan. 42% felt intent to act. 42%. 40% prepared an attempt. This makes me so sad.
No.
34% attempted suicide.
Exactly.
And 51 engaged in self-injury.
Right.
So when you said we need to shout about it, we need to act, we need to raise awareness and act on that, that is suicide prevention.
Exactly. I won't shut up about it.
Good. I love this.
I am happy to talk about it till the cows come home, honestly. I just have this strange need to just talk about it recently. I think ever since setting up the page.
I think what happened, it's a lot like myself, as in I love helping other people, but it comes from a place of when I was younger, I definitely needed a lot of help. And I think that when you have suffered, which clearly you have, and you haven't even gone into any real kind of like, real moments of darkness for you. You've touched on it. So you've suffered. And so I think whenever you go through something like that, and then you get this feeling, I know it is for me for perimenopause, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How do we not know about this?
I felt.
Why are we not doing anything about this? We could help so many other people. People are
Exactly.
suffering, and many more are going to suffer if we don't do something.
I felt a bit silly when I realized it was connected to my cycle. I was like, this is so obvious. Like, I knew that I had this cycle and that was it, but no one mentioned you would feel this way. And you don't have to either. There are ways in which I'm sure we will eventually find how to overcome this.
Are there any treatment options?
I have
okay.
been through a whole bunch. I had to go privately. When I lived in London, this is when I got a diagnosis for PMDD. And I
How long was
brought
that after your bipolar diagnosis?
It was about 2 years after. And again, that brought relief because I knew the bipolar wasn't right.
How did that diagnosis come about?
So because I literally struggled every month, I would be on this carousel of, okay, struggle. And then after an episode, come out of it like, right, I'm going to sort my life out. It's all good. You know, the sandcastle analogy. Like, I'm going to sort this out. It's going to be great. Go running, Pilates, see all my friends, be a good friend. And then the crash comes. And every month I'd try to have this self-development every month, but it would just become exhausting. And my family and friends could see this is not working for you. So I paid to go to a specialist, a gynecologist. And as soon as I turned up, I explained my symptoms. He said, do you have any data or any sort of like tracking of this? And I had about 4 years worth of data. And he looked at it and he didn't laugh, but he said, you have something called PMDD and you have it very severely. I don't know how you've been coping this well for so long. I was like, I haven't been coping. Trust me.
Oh.
And it's at that point I realized what was going on. And he said, there's a whole bunch of options. We can do HRT, we can give you a coil, we can try the pill. And it was exciting that there were options for me. Now, I was lucky that I had been able to pay for that at the time. I was a student teacher at the time, and then the next time I couldn't afford it. So the gynecologist took pity on me because I was proper crying in the surgery. He did pro bono, and that's when I realized what pro bono meant. I was like, oh no, is it going to be more expensive? They're like, no, it's free. I was like, all right, okay, that's great. He was so lovely.
So when you
Yeah.
say you couldn't pay the second time, what do you mean
Yeah.
the second time? What were you going back
So
for?
I was going back because we were trialing lots of different
Right, okay.
hormonal
So what did you
treatments.
trial first then? In case
Um,
anyone's actually watching this and
yeah.
think they may have it or actually does have a diagnosis of
Sure.
PMDD, let's go through the treatments that you've been offered, have tried, what's worked, what's not.
So what I will say is obviously everyone's different.
Yeah.
And one size doesn't fit all. I'm actually not on anything other than antidepressants at the moment, which have worked really well for me.
Okay.
Sertraline, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with.
Oh, my patients come in all the time and they feel
Yeah.
a bit nervous, any medicines,
Yeah.
medical conditions, any allergies, and they always feel a bit sheepish saying,
Yeah.
sertraline or whatever. And I go, who isn't?
I know, literally.
If
who
it works, it
isn't?
works.
Exactly, and it works for me.
Yeah.
So I tried estrogen patches.
Right, okay.
I found that really confusing because you had to put them on for 4 days, like on your cheek of your ass, and then I would forget. I'd be like, "How old is this patch?" And I would forget very regularly. So, from a logistical point of view, it didn't work for me. It wasn't good. I then tried.
And also you're reliant on the actual glue making contact with the skin.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you're very sporty, like you've
Mhm.
mentioned, that's potentially not going to happen with maybe sweat interfering with like
Yeah.
connection.
But it does work for some people. So
Yeah.
some people swear by the patches.
You can put them on your tummy.
Yeah.
I think putting it on your ass is, how do you know if it's still there?
Exactly.
You forget about
I
it.
don't know. I forgot about it regularly. Like 10 days later, I was like, oh yeah, I did shower.
As long as it
sorry.
wasn't the tampon.
No, oh, there's stories on that one. Anyway, that's another episode. So I then had the coil, which again did help.
Which one?
Because it was the Kylina, it was
Right,
called.
okay, right,
I
okay.
got that one deliberately because it has very minimal hormones, apparently, all localized. So I had that and then I had it replaced because I found that I don't know if it made a huge impact, but it definitely dampened the symptoms, like it quietened them slightly.
What kind of symptoms? So with PMDD, you've talked a lot about your dips in your mood, but like it can mean way more painful periods.
Right.
Right? What other symptoms
Yeah.
are there? Or are they just the main?
So for
three?
me, cramps and back pain, but I'll be honest, I almost didn't care about that at all. For me, psychologically, it's the biggest
What about
problem.
other people who might have PMDD? What other symptoms would they look out for?
Bloating,
Okay.
tender or breast.
Basically
tenderness.
PMS on steroids.
Literally.
Anything different from PMS?
The psychological
Just
element
yeah,
is
okay.
just nuts.
Right,
It's
okay.
nuts. You are not the same person, basically. Yeah.
Uh,
So I can understand why bipolar was a diagnosis. I really do.
Yeah, because there was that extreme low.
Yeah.
And then because you were so grateful for not feeling that way.
Yeah.
That's like, I haven't felt like that. Well, actually, that's not true. I was feeling a bit meh, but not in the depths of despair. And then I had started on testosterone, believe it or not, because my
Okay.
testosterone was low. Had to go private for that.
Mhm.
Surprise, surprise. And about 2 weeks later, I felt like me again. And I was so grateful to not feel like I had this blanket of tiredness over me that I couldn't lift. I was like on a wee high.
Yes.
So I get that.
Seeing all your mates, organising a dinner party.
Saying yes.
Yes. Saying yes to
I
everything.
even tried another round of IVF.
See, there you go.
Do you know
Why
what I mean?
not?
You're acting like you're in your 30s again, you
I
know, because you're
know.
just so grateful for not feeling so
Exactly.
exhausted or flat.
Mhm.
Obviously, much more severe for you.
Right.
And this was on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so you've tried the patches.
Yeah.
You've tried the coil.
And then I tried an estrogen gel, which I believe they give to either perimenopause or menopausal.
Yeah, I'm on, well, I have the cream, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
the gel. I actually think it's great. But
Yeah. It didn't do very much for me. The patches, by the way, I should have said, made me very bloated and I came out in teenage acne.
Right,
That was
okay.
tough as well. I felt actually quite good. But when I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, flip's sake. I was like, you can't win, can you? Like, what the heck? Like, fat
But at the
and
same
spotty,
time, you're like,
but I'm
I can't
happy.
really complain because I'm feeling a little bit better
Yeah,
on the inside,
exactly.
but I'm feeling shit on the outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, okay, so you got severe bloating and acne with the patches.
Yeah.
The coil
I'll
you
show you
felt
some
like did a
photos.
little bit,
Mhm.
and then the gel just didn't do very much.
No. And then I guess you get a bit knackered from
But
trying
the
these
thing is, you're
things.
saying the thing is, gel in perimenopause I get because you're supplementing declining levels.
Mhm.
But you're saying it's not so much about the amount or, you know, if it's high or low when it comes to PMDD. It's how sensitive you are to the drop. So why would the gel help then?
I couldn't agree more. I also would like to know this. This is the problem. I am not a medical professional, which is why, but I
I
want
think
to
they're just
understand
trying
it.
things, aren't they?
Yeah.
Is
I
there
want to
much research
understand
into
it.
PMDD?
No, that's the problem. And
Do
that's
you know
what I
why that
need.
is?
Why?
Because we get fuck all money.
Oh, there's no profit.
There's
Yeah,
no
good
money
point.
put into it. Do you know actually women getting prescribed their cholesterol medication, many medications, but for example, cholesterol, a lot of heart medications is based on research done on men.
I can believe that. I've heard
And
this.
men and women, they've now found out we get heart attacks differently.
I've heard this. They
Our
put it into
heart
AI.
disease manifests differently.
Yes.
But I am prescribed, well, I don't have it, but I would be if I needed a cholesterol tablet or a heart tablet based on what works for a man. But a woman is not licensed for testosterone on the NICE guidelines of the NHS, hence why I had to go privately and get it
Yeah.
prescribed off license, and it's been a freaking lifesaver. But a woman can't get it off a GP for, you know, the low, the meh mood. I wouldn't say low, but flat mood. The blanket of tiredness, the exhaustion, the brain fog. It's actually protective of our bone health as well. Unless, what a man can, it's called hypogonadism, right? And a man can get that, right? But if a woman goes in with the same symptoms, they'll say, no, we can't do anything. Unless she's postmenopausal, so after 7 to 10 years of suffering through perimenopause, she can go and say, I am menopausal, having a period in 12 months, and I've been on HRT and it hasn't helped with my low libido. So if you have suffered for 7 to 10 years,
Then
and
you're
your
allowed.
HRT hasn't helped and you've got low sexual desire, that is the only indication that you can have
Oh my goodness, how are you
testosterone.
meant to prove
Not
that?
for hypogonadism, which is to help with mental health, your
Yeah.
cognitive improvement and your bone health and, you know, your exhaustion, your energy. No. But they went and they asked the FDA, this is in America, they asked the FDA, could we not have a licensed dose for women based on, they said we don't have the evidence. Well, until we get the evidence, what about a licensed dose based on what works for a man? Oh, no, we couldn't do that. But we prescribe loads of other medications based on evidence performed on men because you won't allocate the funding for research in women. And they were like, yeah, well. So it makes no surprise that there's very little funding into PMDD, but you shout loud enough
Oh, I will.
and you fight
I
for
can be
that.
annoying. And I'll continue. Professional annoying.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the study they did with AI? Where they put the symptoms of a heart attack in for men and women, and then what it turned out for men was go to hospital, you're having a heart attack, but for women, it was you're stressed, chill out. So the pain threshold for women does tend to be higher, and what we need is seen as putting up with it. Which I think is part of
But
the
I was
issue.
listening to a podcast by Dr. Mary Claire. She's a gynae, OBGYN. She's pioneering in a global movement with perimenopause. And she mentioned about this, that she was taught, and she's ashamed to admit this, and she practiced this for a long time until she herself experienced perimenopause. But she said they are taught that if a woman comes in and they can't figure out what is wrong with her, she's probably making it up.
Oh my gosh. It's sure hysterectomies. The word hysterectomy comes
Hysterical.
from hysterical
Hysteria.
Latin, and
Yeah.
that's why they called it that. Yeah, so women were being hysterical in the 1900s, or
It's also that also comes from because what happens when you go into perimenopause. I know I'm talking about that a lot. It's because they're very much kind of like it's the same kind of idea. It's different, affecting women when they're younger, and it's hormones affecting women when they're older.
Do you know, talking about the hysteria, it took me a while to actually accept PMDD for myself.
Really?
Yeah, because it is so unknown. And because even doctors that I would have spoken to didn't know what it was, including my family, by the way. And that's no disrespect to them. How would they know? It's
Yeah.
not common, like, place. It's not in education. So I, as I said before, would find after an episode being like downplaying it. I'd think, oh,
You
it was
didn't
being
want,
dramatic.
yeah.
Everyone goes through this. And my equivalent, I just want to sort of cross-reference, is ME, chronic fatigue.
Mhm.
People for a number of years didn't really believe in it. They were like, yeah, but everyone's tired, But people who have chronic fatigue find it hard to tie their shoelaces because they're knackered, or go up a flight of stairs. It's different. But then they started advocating for themselves. It was then recognized and identified in the medical profession. And then they were able to believe it themselves. And I think just awareness and that validation is enough for people
Because
to feel
otherwise
better.
it's a form of unintentional gaslighting.
Yes, exactly. That
But
buzzword.
gaslighting nonetheless for the likes
Yes,
of yourself.
exactly. Because I don't want
Women aren't, and Dr. Mary Claire said, she also turned around and she said about women, she said, I don't need, so she said about, people trying to sell saliva cortisol tests.
Okay.
And she's like, I don't need to do a test to know that my patient is stressed. I'm going to talk to her.
You're going to believe
I'm going to
them.
listen to her. She's not invisible in my room. I just need to chat with her. I just need to listen, and I'm going to know that she's stressed. I don't need to test her cortisol levels.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I think there just needs to be a lot more of that.
exactly.
Although it's very hard in NHS when the GPs are allowed 10 minutes max
I
with a
know.
patient.
Feel bad for them.
Yeah,
a day.
it's hard for them to do a good job by all patients, but obviously with what we're talking about. But at the same time, it is a systemic failure. Women are being failed,
Exactly.
and
So-
they're not getting the appropriate health
And we're
care.
going to change it.
We're going to change it.
I know.
What are your plans?
Well, I'm hoping to go into universities to roll it out in the curriculum. So I'm going into Queen's in December.
And no better person than a teacher.
Just across the road. So I'm going to go in and speak to some nurses first. I'm trying to get
Amazing.
in with some of the doctors and the psychiatrists and the psychologists as well. And
hopefully
although
save a
it's-
few other women being
Exactly.
misdiagnosed.
Right. So actually my therapist, who works in acute mental health, she hadn't heard of it until she met me.
Right.
And now she identifies it in some people. And her DMs are flooding at the moment with this, now that we're speaking about it quite a lot. So it's pretty amazing. And I know there's a need for it because the people of Belfast are messaging me saying their partner has it or they have it, and what do they do? And I wish I had the answers, by the way. I really do.
I have a patient who told me about it as well. And obviously I'd had my own personal first time ever realising what it is. And then a patient telling me about it, and it was like, that's awful. She goes, I don't know why my husband's still with me.
I know
She
sometimes.
goes, I am awful.
Yeah.
And she's, but there's nothing I can do about it. And funny enough, she's a teacher.
Yeah.
She's a teacher also, but she was saying like, and she's so lovely. She's like, there's nothing I can do about it.
I know. But then I am determined there must be something.
Yeah.
We need research, and we need funding
Research.
for research.
Yep.
And then before that, we just need people to know what it is. So I'm going to go into universities, and eventually I would love to go into schools and just have those conversations, non-stigmatized, both genders in together, talking about periods, that dirty word period, and actually just having that conversation. Because that awareness event I had that run a couple of weeks ago, I had some people saying, "Oh, I'm coming down. I'm going to try and drag down my boyfriend or husband." I'm like, why are you dragging them?
I
They should
know,
be
I hate
there.
that. I hate that
Oh,
because whenever again talking about when I was experiencing, oh, I'm going to go through perimenopause, I was like, have I? Look at this. Oh,
yes.
oh, you need to read this.
Everyone
Oh,
needs to
can you watch
know.
this reel? Oh, babe, can you watch this? Oh, I've just found out today about.
Yes,
Like he didn't have a choice. It's not
exactly.
always the men's fault though. It's the women. They make it out like, oh, I don't want to follow. Oh, he won't want to know about it. Oh, how do you know?
Right. Exactly.
Talk to him about it
Hmm.
because you on the other foot, you're gonna want to help him,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Or your partner, whoever it might be. Um. So you've done your run. You've been on the news. Did I hear you were going to be on the radio?
I was on the
Oh,
radio,
that's
yes.
happened.
That was scary because it was live.
All right.
I
I
was
love
nervous about saying something bad and being cancelled, but
that.
I managed it. Yeah,
You
that was good.
aced it. No, you
Yeah, I
always
got it.
come across really
Oh,
well.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Is there anything? So yeah, it's been lovely talking to you, but our time's running up. Is there anything you would want to leave anyone who's concerned about someone who might have it? How to speak to them about it if they're not aware? Do help them with awareness apart from directing them to your page
Yeah.
or anyone who think they might be going through it? Is there anything that you would like to? Any message you would like to leave?
For anyone who thinks they might have PMDD, you are not alone. That is the main thing. I need you to know you are not alone and you will get through each month and we will find some relief and you will find not every month is horrendous. It does get better and you'll find those strategies and solutions. I used to not be able to function at all, but I've been able to learn, those bad weeks, that's a quieter week for me. I'm not going to be going out socializing a huge amount, or maybe I'm just going to be mindful of what I do that week and be kind to myself that week a little bit
Yeah.
more than I would normally be. Um, but just to actually talk to people and let them know for real what is happening, because it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. I was for a long time, but that's ridiculous. It's not your fault and you will get through it. And we're going to find some form of solution soon.
And join your page and show
Yeah.
support.